All right, it's past time, so 6:50. Apologize for the delay in the start. On the technical side, we learned something new. Our telephone wire doesn't work in the wall, so apologize for that. Call the meeting to order with Jennifer Schultz is absent excused. Based on that, do I see approval of the agenda? Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that such motion.
Second.
Made by Rich, second by Dave. Joe, Karen in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor? All right, public comments. Yes, ma'am.
This be public questions as well?
It depends on how detailed the question.
Oh, okay. Last time you mentioned,
Could we ask for your name
oh,
and address?
yeah, Sharon Kiernan, 9393 Steep Hollow Drive, White Lake,
395.
9393.
9393.
Steve Hall.
Last time you mentioned that the new library would have $113,000 for toilets. Can you give me?
$113,000
Yeah.
for toilets?
Yeah.
No.
What was that?
So, the $113,000 is directly related to that. That's
Okay.
the sewer connection fee. So to connect to the sewer line, you have to pay a connection fee.
Yeah,
The majority of that fee goes actually to Commerce because they're the ones actually running the water sanitation facility.
okay.
But it's formula driven, based on the number of receptacles, facilities you have and the size
Yeah.
of pipe and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah,
113,000?
your
'Cause you made the comment you were
your facial
looking at
expression
the-
is not being caught on the camera, so I can only say it's like, wow.
But it's like, you made a comment also that you were looking at trying to reduce the cost of the toilets because there were 3 levels of toilets that
Yep.
you were looking at,
Mhm.
and that's why it was sort of,
It's an
inferred.
astounding number, yeah.
How many toilets will there be?
So there is 8.
Oh, wow, 113.
So they rated the library the same as, so it goes by residential equivalent units, REU.
Mhm.
It rates the library equal to 11 homes, because it's 11 residential units.
Okay,
So that says some of those homes don't even have a toilet, if we got 11. I don't know, but it's all done through the township. I will say that we have worked on that number some more, and we are still looking at, it has to do with the water line size that comes in and all that stuff, so we're looking to value engineer it and get that cost down.
so you mentioned water line, so you'll also be taking or paying for the water line going into the library and not the township paying for it, right?
So, be careful how you state your question,
Okay.
because I will restate your question
Okay.
differently. We, the library, will pay for a water line to go from an existing source at Kroger
Okay,
to our facility. And per the zoning ordinance, and we will build everything to the zoning ordinances, it states that if you are within 150 feet plus 50 feet for each building, so if we're within 200 feet of a water source, of the city water line, township water line, you must connect. So we are within that distance to Kroger. The ordinance also states that the water line needs to go from your property line to property line,
mhm,
so the next person can add on. And that is what is currently in our plan to do.
okay.
I am not answering the part of the question when we went to the township. We said, hey, we're gonna put in a water line. Why don't we both do it at the same time across your property and then go all the way down to the rehab center? They've elected at this point in time, although the supervisor said he was gonna call us shortly,
Yeah.
but no response so far. But at this point in time, they are not electing to put in water on their property. As far as I know, nobody's said anything to us. So we will follow the zoning ordinances and the rules and deliver water to our property. Also for my fellow board members, this also means we have to get an access easement from Kroger because the water is on Kroger's property. And we need like 25 feet of access in order to put the line in. So I actually have been to Kroger and stumped the general manager, or the store manager. So they're trying to figure out who within Kroger they need to talk to put them in touch with us so we can figure out how to get this done. So that's the other minor little hurdle on the water line. So, all right. So, did that answer your questions?
I think so, for now.
For now?
For now.
Trust me, there'll be more on it as we go along, I'm sure. All right? Yes, sir.
Keeping on that subject,
Mm-hmm.
they talked about a loop.
You talk about your
Oh,
line.
John Early, 5925 Pine Ridge Court,
Say the number again?
5929 Pine Ridge Court.
5925.
5925.
On that same subject, they talked about a loop.
Correct.
Now, do you have the loop, or can you deadhead it?
So, per the zoning ordinance, if you're within the footage that I just said, they call that a financial risk or financial burden in the zoning ordinance. It says that you should have the financial wherewithal if you're that close to be able to do this. Nowhere in any ordinance that we are following does it mandate you must loop something. It can be the township's paid consultants to recommend that it be looped. But at this point in time, that is not an ordinance that I've read, that you have to loop something.
If it's not an ordinance, but the consultant says you must loop, then what?
Then I guess I would come back to the fact that their other part of their ordinance does have a financial burden risk that is reasonable, meaning 200 feet. And I would argue that this is unreasonable because it's 1,000 feet.
If you loop.
If you loop.
Yeah, I got you.
I mean, so it's, the downside from our position, as a separate autonomous entity, you have one entity that makes the rules or is making up rules, but they're also the entity is getting the value of those rules that they're making. So, I mean, somebody could come along and say, well, we recommend that the road be 4 lanes wide. It's not in the ordinance, but if somebody recommended it, one of their paid consultants, and we had to do it, that would then say there's a 4-lane road in front of their property that they get for nothing. So, I mean, where does the leverage, you know, or the ability to dictate something for my benefit when I make the rules? I think there's.
Would you be good enough to go back, for those of us that aren't terribly bright, and explain who these two entities were that you just spoke of?
So to restate it, realizing on the screen that is the library property. So from the library property to the south, if it works, right here begins township property. So right now, and we'll go back to the water line.
No, I'm sorry. Let me try to restate my
Yeah, okay.
query. You said that there, I'm not making a question, so you don't need to have my
No,
address.
you're making a public comment. So I need to get your,
Hang on, Junior.
No, he needs your name and your
Yeah,
address.
we'll get to that in a moment. All I'm asking you to do is clarify something that you just said about two separate entities
Mhm.
making rules for the benefit of the other.
I got your question. Name and address.
Bob Connolly, 349 Shotwell Court, Detroit.
So the two parties are us and the township.
Okay. So who's making up the rules, you suppose?
The township has the zoning and planning commission. And they contract out, because they're not big enough, they contract out professional engineering companies to assist them, civil and, forget it. So they're the ones that are recommending this loop line on behalf of the township. So it's the township that will make a determination of whether or not the line needs to be looped. But in doing so, the loop goes on their property, so it's for the township's property's benefit, this line.
What is a loop?
Oh, sorry, it just means that you've got to connect from 2 points. If you look at it right now,
The water.
Kroger to us would be, as he just said, deadheads there, but they really want the line to go from Kroger all the way down to the rehab center in a loop fashion, so the water would continuously flow.
And the
through.
township expects the library to expend my tax dollars to do that as opposed to something that's more cost efficient. Is that correct?
So
We're talking only about the library now,
we're only talking about the library.
but they want the library to expend,
At this point, the recommendation from the outside consultant is yes. Instead of putting in a line from point A to B, they want it to go from A all the way down to C. So instead of 1,000 feet, we put in 2,000 feet of water line. That's the recommendation. Which then, the water line would be there for future use of the property use of that line. So there is future use value in putting it in.
future use value to whom?
To the property owners of the property which is the township property, that it goes across. So as a taxpayer, even though you said your address was Detroit, as a taxpayer,
Oh, for God's sake, I was being facetious.
hey, it's recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, we were.
All right,
Oh.
continue.
So at some point in time, that water line will be put in. It's just a function of now or later. And if it's now, which bucket of money does it come from? And later, if it's a developer or if it's a township or whoever, you know, they would put it in.
Is there a guarantee then, if in fact it's the township that benefits, township government that benefits from this loop-de-loop, okay, as opposed to a straight line, whatever it was, what'd you call it, a
Deadhead.
Deadhead. Is it the position of the township that they will reimburse the library at such time as they make use of that loop?
All I can state is I went to the township meeting, their last meeting, and requested they pay for their portion, and we allocate however methodology you'd wish. I think we gave them 4 different options. They, at their meeting, did not take it up for a vote, did not have a decision on it. The supervisor said that they would call us shortly with an option.
And your check is in the mail. Go ahead.
Yeah. Your question.
Well, getting back to this again, when we asked this question,
Mhm.
planning meeting, we were told that this is so you don't have stale water, so you've got nice circulation and it's flowing, it goes back to the water tank.
Mhm.
And also, if you break part of the 200-foot line that we're gonna put in, they have an option for getting the water if that needs to be repaired. But that was the engineering firm answering that question, not the township sewer and water authority. So, yeah, that was it. Oh, I had one more thing. This hookup fee, the 100 and some thousand hookup fee, is that all you get for that? In other words, you gotta put the sewer pipe out to where the main is,
Oh, yeah.
and all they're gonna do is cut a hole in the main and stick your line in there.
No. They don't do
They
anything.
will they will allow us to cut.
They will allow
Right.
you to cut the hole in the line.
And they also allow us the wonderful ability to add a grinder pump so that what we put into their line is small and flows out
Well, we have it at your expense.
at our expense.
So the $100 some dollars
$100,000.
only paying, $100 some thousand dollars, is
Right.
only paying for cutting into that line.
No. The $113,000 is a permit fee. That's it.
Yeah, that's what I
It's a
mean.
piece
Not-
of
Not
paper.
the labor, yeah, I got it.
It's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You're paying for the infrastructure cost.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's the infrastructure recovery costs, and, to make sure that commerce is still out.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I got it.
I guess you could look at it as like the city of Detroit, and they talk about all the
Yeah.
crumbling water infrastructure. I mean, it's,
But another way to do that would be from your water and sewer bill.
yeah, people just wouldn't like to see that amount of bill every month, so. Okay, anything else? Any other public?
Could you give us a brief synopsis of where this whole laborious process stands right now?
We will cover that under the library building committee report coming up in the matter of moments.
Please, stand by.
Any other public comment? Once, twice, gone. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, which is approval of the minutes. The first minutes we'll take up is the regular meeting minutes, and then we will tackle and I didn't hand out the budget meeting minutes. Denise, I think those were separate on your file, so wasn't sure if those were
No,
extra copies. or
these
what.
are extra ones that,
Okay, so first, regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes.
Motion by Rich, approved. Second?
I'll second the
Second by Joe. Karen?
yes,
All approved? All right. All right, what about the budget meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget meeting.
I'll say it.
Second by Dave, Joe, Karen? approved?
Yes.
All right.
There's two additional, minutes from closed sessions that we need to approve, which didn't make it to the packet. Hand out to board members, if I can, if that's procedurally okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Should be one of each. Should work.
Should work.
It should work, but you know. Should.
So the first one we'll touch is the 27th of September, executive session. Give you all a second to look at it.
Gonna make that a blank, let me know.
The only thing I would change on it is at the end of it, 9:22 PM, we don't want to make it look like you stayed there all night. motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Joe's making a motion.
This-
Second.
I'll second.
Second by Dave. Karen, Rich,
Yes.
in favor, all right. Are you caught up down there, Rich?
Almost.
Those minutes will stay for a year and then they're destroyed.
So improvement to the October 25th meeting, it's procedurally.
I'll move.
So moved by Karen,
I'll second it if we put PM after 9:50.
all right. 9:50 PM, all right. Second by Joe, Dave, Rich, you guys okay?
So who made the,
Karen. First by Karen, second by Joe.
four yes?
Dave and Rich agree, all right. Okay. So, next on the agenda, the library building committee report. So, a few things yet to discuss that weren't covered in the public comments. Let's start off with the sale of the bond resolution by the township will be on the township agenda for their next meeting. So Joe or Denise, you guys want to make any comments on that?
I have a wording, custom wording.
So we took the proposed language that they were going to vote on, we sent it to our attorney for review. Our attorney has reviewed it and has redlined it with an added paragraph that we then sent back to the township for their review. They have sent it to their attorney, and we will see what happens if they've included it or not. So, this is only page 25
Yeah.
of the 26-page proposal. So, anything else from that timeline?
I don't know if we want to just note the conditions proceeding to the offer of the bonds for sale. We need the final site plan approval for the project by the Township Planning Commission. We need final engineering approval for the project from the Township Planning Director. Receipt of all required permits for the project from the Oakland County Road Commission, the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, and the township. And last, receipt of construction bids and tabulation of project costs from the township library. So that the proposal states that all those 4 items have to be completed.
That last one particular is,
The last one in particular is not what our construction advisor, construction management firm would say is typical. The receipt of construction bids is not normally a condition. This is above and beyond.
And we have added, our attorney suggested we add language that states that the township shall use its best efforts to promptly process approvals and permits referenced above, and shall reasonably assist the library in any filing or administrative processes, and shall not unreasonably delay or withhold such approval and or permits. We haven't heard back from the township yet, but we have bi-weekly update meetings with the township treasurer and the township clerk and their attorney. And we do have one scheduled for tomorrow morning, so we should find out what they say about this.
This is the resolution?
This
This is
is,
the
this is
resolution.
one of the pages for the resolution.
26 pages.
Right, but this is
Yeah.
the custom page that is particular to our bond issue, yeah. The rest of it is pretty, Just-
This is the actual official act that the township needs to vote on in order to make the sale of the bonds. So this would be the board meeting where they say, go ahead and do it. And then within the document, it gives the condition of who can actually then, I think it's 2 people can actually then authorize the sale, or?
it's either the supervisor or the treasurer or just one.
Just one person? Oh, okay. So then, can authorize it. All right.
And this is supposed to be on their agenda for their meeting next week.
Correct, it should be on the 21st meeting, whichever.
Right.
And then the actual sale of the bond is tentatively scheduled for what month?
Well, assuming these 4 conditions are met, probably it sounds like May.
May? Okay. I saw your,
Oh, okay.
but it is a board meeting, so I would like them
Oh.
to make sure that
Oh.
we have our conversation because it might answer your question.
What didn't?
We've been counseled, though, that we might be able to condense some of the timeline
Right.
based on township
So,
schedule.
if you think about it though, from a township taxpayer perspective, because I know somebody made the comment that we're spending, why would the township want to spend $30,000 a month and we're not even building something? Well, just remember, everyone, it's a 20-year bond. So it doesn't matter if it starts in July or if it starts in October or when it starts. It's going to be 20 years. The dollar amount isn't going to change. So the only other variable you have in a bond sale is the interest rate. And if you look at it from July of this year until probably January of next year, the Fed will have increased the interest rates probably twice, with another increase probably in the spring. So if you start looking at it from an interest rate, which is really the only variable, if you, for simple math, 0.5% on 8.6 million is $40,000. So that is a true cost of waiting until all of the bids are in and all this stuff versus accelerating it and getting it issued quickly. We're actually fighting against a rising interest rate environment. Conversely, if it was going down, then obviously you'd like to wait and do it at the last point in time. But it's kind of like, you know, everybody wanting to buy their home now because interest rates are going up and your payment's just going to be bigger. So if the longer they wait, the potential exists that we'll just have a higher interest rate as a taxpayer. So hopefully they accelerate it. We'll see. Your question?
Construction bids.
Yes.
You are going out for construction bids or not? Because you made a comment that would be above and beyond what you have to do.
No, my comment above and beyond is, so our construction manager, which only deals in public funds,
Mhm.
will do bids, sealed bids.
Okay,
They will be opened in public,
okay.
so no rizzos, you know, nothing going on.
Okay, good.
No
So-
shenanigans.
No shenanigans, so that's all, that's the side. The sale of the bonds could be accomplished based on a reasonable budget, one that's achievable. We provided that budget to the township in May of this year,
Mhm.
and that is the budget we're living to. And they could, if they chose, use that as the basis to issue the bonds. They're choosing a different route.
We have a construction manager that's gonna manage
that.
that whole
Yeah,
bid process, really.
Yeah, And that's all they do is public works, through bonds, managing it, so it's above board, you know, it's transparent, so there's no, that's not been a topic of discussion that I've been involved in between the township and the bonding process. Okay. We also was it only last week or the week before, the special use permit, or the special
The
use?
second, no,
December- the
second.
7th.
Second.
December 2nd, yeah.
Oh, no. You're talking about
The
the
special
special meeting
use.
that happened on November 2nd. They did grant it.
And they granted that, so the property was zoned agricultural, and so it is now, we checked that box off, that we can put the building on the property.
Wasn't rezoned, it was just given a special land use.
Yeah, sorry, I keep saying rezoned.
Yes, people,
We can do what we're gonna do.
some people don't like.
So, more in the educational realm, can you hit the? So as we talked last time, our site plan, we got the surprise that the road commission now wants to have more space. You're going the wrong way. Stop.
I know, I'm just trying to make it bigger, but I'll let you
No,
talk.
you're not. But
Control
but
L.
I'm off the page.
Control L.
Bring it up, just slide it up. Stop. So, since the last time we talked and looked at our drawing, we are now accommodating the Oakland County Road Commission has indicated that in the future, there is a potential that possibly maybe they will want to have a wider road. So we had to increase the distance back by 27 feet. So this gray line, because you can't read everything, this is actually a pedestrian multi-purpose pathway. This is the actual road here as it exists today. This gray is the acceleration, deceleration lane and the entrance into the library. So we have given consideration by pushing everything back. But what I learned, because I talked to a different attorney, while we have made this consideration, that's good, but we can't get anything from the county for it because they don't want it right now. You will only get compensated for this strip if, whenever they actually take the property. So we get the penalty of not being able to use it as we were going to, meaning all of this was shifted a little bit further forward, but you don't get compensated for it until they actually come in and take it. So that's what I learned from a different, and this attorney only specializes in in this field of condemned properties.
You were talking about that easement earlier. Where would that show up?
So the right of way, it's all of these lines are setbacks from the center line. So right now, here's the center line, and I'm thinking that this is the 33-foot right of way the way it is today. And then the 27-foot right of way brings it back to here. And then from the 27-foot additional right of way, then you have another 25-foot setback. So it just all stacks up, so you're way back. So the good side of it is we only had to move the building back 8 feet further back. We have met the requirements of the driveway being 360 feet away from the rehab corner, because you can only have so many entrances and exits. So that's why it's no longer on the side of our property. If you remember that discussion, we had to move from the side to the middle because of the road commission. So that's been done. We've put in the multi-pathway here, which And the conversation we had today, I think is really good from the perspective of, it's not one of those pathways where you got the curb and the pathway right next to it. I mean, we actually have like 20-some feet, so you can be safe on it. We'll be able to, landscape, prudently, not in eyesight or whatever, so we'll be able to landscape on both sides. If somebody's coming from the north, they will hit a sidewalk here, that will bring them to the front door. If they're coming from the south, they'll hit a sidewalk here, come through the parking lot to the front door, so that works out well. By moving the facility back 8 feet, we maintain the green space in front. If we wouldn't have opted to move it back, then it would have just been, concrete, to the door. So that wasn't what we want. The parking lot is somewhat, I find, unusual, yet I also find it awesome. This center is only one car, so you will not need people in the middle backing out. They'll all be able to pull through. So from a safety perspective, especially if there's little kids or, anybody actually, in the parking lot, there's less backing up. We've maintained the drop-off circle, and they put in some, to meet the parking space requirements. We have 102 parking spaces, so we met that consideration. For those of you looking that it's hard to see and haven't seen it, this over here is actually drawn this way, and God forbid it turns out looking like this. This is actually for a fire truck to drive in. So it has to be, the ground has to be sturdy for the truck, but the intention is that this patio and this path for the truck to be able, the fire truck to pull on, is gonna look a heck of a lot better than what it does here. So that's a challenge for us. We still have the retention pond here. The water would flow off this corner, under the sidewalk, and into here. Likewise, the water flows back to this corner, and then it's actually above ground into this retention pond. These retention ponds are meeting the 1 in 4 slope. So from that perspective, the township has the ability to not require a fence. Hopefully that they stick to that because it's aesthetically not very pleasing. So we're looking at that. We're still staying well off the drop line. This dotted line here is just the construction limits. You know how you put in that black silk fence when you're building something? That's kind of like what that is. They've got to make it one little correction so they're not into the wetlands. But other than that, this site plan will be delivered to the township tomorrow by 10 a.m. The planning commission meeting is on December 7th. So that would be the planning commission meeting December 7th, which will present this, which would have been done in November, except for we ran into the hole right away. So we're back on track. And then the expectation is that it will go to the township meeting December 19th. December 20.
I think it's the 19th.
It is the 19th. Yeah, I think it's 19th, yeah, come home on me, just for this, so 19th.
Thank you, Glenn.
You guys have any questions on the site plan? There's a lot in here, there's lots of, lots of thought, lots of consideration. Just a lot of work by C2AE, getting this to work. Some of you may remember, we do have a utility easement. That's the first dotted line. That easement is for the utility to go underground. The next 15 feet is a construction easement. But if they don't use the easement in 5 years, then it goes away. But I'm also told that there's a replica easement on the township side. So while we're gonna pave over top of it, if for some reason 3 years later they come in, then that would have to be replaced by whoever takes it up. So we won't have any other massive underground electrical or something like that to worry about.
This is, the site plan is, would meet the, is for A, the. final
21A,
site-
final site plan approval for the project. So this, process-wise, as a reminder, we go to the planning commission as the preliminary, December 7th. We go to the township as a preliminary, December 19th. I keep using that dammer, hopefully it's right.
That's right.
And then it would go to the, it actually goes then back to the planning commission for final site plan approval. And that, our expectation would be early January.
I wouldn't,
Go on.
he's gonna,
Yeah. Okay. So that's the site plan update. So we've got the drawings and the dates. We've done that, special use. We did have a building meeting scheduled for tomorrow. That's been moved to December 7th. So the committee that's working on the actual building. The last topic, oh, yeah, so we actually have the final drawings of the elevations. So in the process of give and take, we worked through it and some things are, which do? So you can see, Denise, you pulled up electronically, right?
which, there's 4 different levels, which one do you want? They're the same. There's 4 of them, but I can only show 3 on the screen right now. Better?
All right, so now you gotta just figure out what elevation you're looking at.
First one, the top is the front.
So you walk in the front door. The multi-purpose, so you walk in the front door. So you're walking in the front door here, that's here, with the adults, or, you walk in the front door up here, sorry. So you're walking in the front door here, you got the adult section, the children's section in the back, and then this corner here would be the program meeting room space up there. You can see the elevations topped up. This high section is this here. Realizing the final drawings, as it is right now, the portico is an option. So as we go out for bids, depending on where the bids come in, right now that is not the primary path to have that. So this raised elevation is this here. So you can see that. This is the side. This is actually the children's side, I believe. Unfortunately, I got more lines on here. Let's see. So, oh, so I'm gonna do it this way.
So the first one's north, second?
Yeah. So this is actually the, looking from the north side. Then the east elevation So looking at it from the east side, then looking at it from the south. So this here, this section here is the fireplace area. So this stone in here would be like the backside of the fireplace, in the sitting area and whatnot there. And then you can see it's actually hard to tell, but this section here, these are, I'm gonna use the word brick, it's not, this is solid, how about I use that word, solid versus windows. So you can see there's quite a bit of windows coming in on the side, so you can see in.
To see out to the nature.
So you can see the woods and relax. Again, all around the building, 2 foot high, is a masonry for maintenance. So the water's coming off, it's not splashing back up. So that's more of a maintenance and aesthetics all around the building. You guys have any questions as you look strained? I think the, Joe, I know one of the early issues was Dennis and his glorious heights. The highest is 27 feet. So it really got set down. So that's good from the efficiency point of view.
It looks like some of the angles soft or came down too, and
Like these here.
yes.
Yeah, he had to squish them down because the highest
Yeah.
came down, but these have to be
Yeah,
a certain
those are
height, so it was softened
Yeah.
down. Okay.
So we saved some cubic feet by shrinking it down a bit.
So, yeah, you say cubic feet in volume for
Yeah.
heating and air conditioning. More importantly, it came down to standard sizes on windows. So as soon as you hit the standard sizes on windows, then everything wasn't custom, and then the cost came down more than the foot came down.
Yeah.
so to speak. Okay. You guys good? The last, unless Denise says no more thing, the last thing that did come up during one of the bond meetings that Joe and Denise attended was a question one more time from the township, if we would entertain an idea of selling off our frontage or doing something creative with the township. So in the best interests of everyone, we took that request. We were actually in the process of drafting a response to the informal request, because it wasn't formal, it was just during a conversation.
Right.
But we took it seriously enough that we spent over an hour at the next building meeting, and we had our outside engineering firm, our architectural firm, actually look at this request and put a lot of time and effort into it. And it just wouldn't work from a building layout and access point of view. So even though it was an informal request, we did act on it from the perspective of we did our due diligence, but we did not respond in any.
So the idea would be making what they call an outlot type of thing, where you've got a,
No, they actually wanted to, yeah, actually, we would become the back lot,
yeah.
so to speak, and they would have had the frontage. But in order to be able to get a road in and get access to our place, and then you would actually have to turn our building, and then it really cut off. It just became extremely 'friendly when the architects actually tried to lay it out. I mean, it wasn't wasn't us sitting around on a yellow piece of paper drawing it, it was, you know, the architects looking at it. So I guess what I could say is we looked at it with professionals and not just making assumptions on our own. And so, did you actually tell Mike? No?
I talked to him, yes,
So-
and he said, I appreciate you doing the due diligence, and it doesn't work,
Yeah. So,
doesn't work.
It would seem like hard, because if we moved any further back, we're
Yeah,
we're into,
yeah, we have to have
Right.
a very,
yeah, the structural, the
Foundation.
foundation is,
well, and, yeah, so without belaboring it, it didn't work. There's a lot of times, so. Anything I missed tonight, Karen, Joe, any questions? We're moving along. The next meeting for the building team should be to discuss the bid packages and the bid package options. And to be more explicit, so in a bid package for the building, we will have them, somebody will bid out the staff kitchen, as an example. But then we would also put as an option the kitchen in the program room. So, I mean, if we get a good price, you know, by bundling the two together, then, you know, then maybe we can do both. If the price is not, then we would have like the primary path and then the secondary. So, there's lots of detailed things that, that we're looking at, including like, you know, different finish or something like that, so. So that'll be a focus for the next meeting. Any other questions?
Mary Early, 5925 Pine Ridge Court. Do you anticipate that the meeting next week and the December 7th and December 19th meeting will all be held over at the Township Hall? Or do you think
yes,
it'll be
it's right
somewhere
now.
else?
As of right now, they're at the Township Hall.
Okay,
Because you're asking a question from a capacity point of view?
correct.
Good question. Obviously, everybody is more than welcome to attend. I would never tell anybody not to. I think the focus and what draw a larger in-person presence was the sale of the bonds. With the township board agreeing that they would proceed, and with the resolution actually being on the agenda, and the fact that I look at the number of people that are now attending our meeting versus what were attending before, I'm hopeful that they'll meet their capacity requirements. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know.
Thank you.
So.
When you were talking about the interest rates possibly going up, how tightly are these bonds defined right now?
How tightly are they defined? They are defined as a 20-year, 8.6 million.
No, but I mean like the interest rate they pay,
It's whatever the day they sell them.
when they're issued.
When they are sold, I'm only using the word sold because our treasurer keeps reminding me they're not issued, they're sold.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that day, whatever it is. So they're not, to use your terminology, of the three variables, two are defined, duration and dollar, and one is undefined, interest rate.
That somebody's gonna earn on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
So therefore their marketability and their saleability would be.
well, they'll sell them at the day's interest rate. So you can't, in May, if that's the date they go to sell them, they can't sell them at 2% if the market's at 4%, because nobody will buy them.
So they'll meet whatever the market rate is that day. But with the expectation of everybody that interest rates are going up, you wouldn't take 2% if tomorrow you could get 4% if you were buying the bonds.
Well, what I'm driving at is if we sold them early, or, yeah, okay, I'm with you.
Okay. Are we talking about inform?
As part of my report, and then what's on the agenda, once I get to it.
Once we get to it.
Just want to go on with the computer.
Oh, you want to skip to it? Is anybody opposed to having a portion of the director's report that's on the topic of the new library and the facility at this time?
Would you want to make it you want to move to the,
It doesn't matter.
the,
Just go ahead.
Civic Center?
Well,
You can make it a part of the update.
Well, you have your officer reports and then it's my turn, so I don't think you guys have to.
All right, so to close out the library building committee report, the next actions are the planning commission meetings and the building meeting on December 7th, 10 a.m. Okay?
Oh, December 7th?
The building committee meeting at 10.
The planning commission meeting
at 7.
7 p.m.
Sorry.
That's it, unless, Denise, Karen, anything else? President's reports, I have none, thank you. Vice President. She's absent, excused. Secretary.
Just a note of thanks to the participants in the building committee, and all the hard work you've put in to get us to this point. I appreciate it. I'm sure the residents will too. So, that's it.
Treasurer.
Well, I second what the secretary just said. Between Gwen and Denise put in a lot of effort on staying on top of this, and I appreciate it. I looked over the payments for this, in the month of November. There's nothing really unusual. There is a $12,000 payment to C2AE and about a $2,300 payment to our attorneys for their support. That's all for the new library building. So unless anyone has any other questions, I would propose that, I would recommend that these payments be made, prudent to be made. And again, I'll recommend that we withhold the payment to the township.
So your motion would be to approve the bills,
Approve the bills,
but,
and withhold the payment to the township. And then last month, I recommended that we withhold the payment, the October payment to C2AE. That was almost $51,000. And I think we are in a position where we could go ahead and release that payment, so I'm going to approve that payment.
is that a separate motion?
That's, yeah, let's make it a separate motion.
Let's do the first one, November disbursements of funds as presented minus the township.
Minus
Is that
the
what it is?
township, right.
I'll second that.
Second by Karen. Figures are rich? All right.
Who's this C2A3 you spoke of?
C2AE is our architectural firm that's not doing that drawing. That's the $45,000 drawing. Ours is the ones that I showed you before.
So what payment are you withholding from the township?
The township processes our payroll and healthcare,
Okay.
so we're not refunding them for their expenditure.
Why? Sounds rather petulant. Just an outsider's perspective.
Cash flow?
Cash
Sorry?
flow,
Cash
right.
flow? We
Where-
didn't get the bond money.
We did that.
Where's the where has the,
So I tell you what, in the interest of, this has been an issue for several months. I'd be more than happy to talk to you after and go into any detail you wish.
And the township has offered financial support. And I've been looking at our cash forecast out through to the end of next year. And I believe that we can withhold payments through the end of this year and most likely resume paying them in January, making a monthly payment, but withhold the payments for 2017 that we have been withholding until we get the site plan approved, until the bond proceeds are available for us to use, until the library is reimbursed for all of the expenditures we've already made towards the new library. And actually, construction has actually started. And I'm going to talk to the township treasurer. He's the one that suggested that they would provide some financial reports. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow when I see him and make him aware of that.
Mike Rome has been very helpful getting this resolution and also talking to us about our finances, so we appreciate that.
Coming back though, did you make a motion to pay C2A?
I did.
Yeah. Karen seconded it, you got that, Rich?
So I'm reading that as a motion to release payment to C2AE, to release the payment to C2AE that was withheld in October.
Right.
Correct.
Correct.
Dave and Rich, you guys approve?
Yes.
So moved. What else do you have, Joe?
And that is all I have. I'm gonna,
Do you need to move funds? PNC's not looking real healthy.
I think we're okay right now.
Right.
If, we made a motion last month for me to move the CD if we
Yeah,
needed it.
if you need it, yeah.
So we haven't needed to move that yet.
Good. All right. What's the total building fund expenditure so far year to date?
$881,000.
Say that slowly.
$881,000.
Okay.
The bulk of that is the land,
Yeah.
600,000.
Okay. Anything else?
I have nothing else.
Any other questions for the treasurer? Director's report. Now that the screen went black.
Pardon?
Now that the screen went black.
Well, the first two we've already somewhat discussed, so. I was very impressed by the way Rusty and Joe are,
Not this.
not this Joe.
You're not impressed
Joe,
with this, Joe?
oh, I'm always impressed by that, Joe. Joe, our architect, handled themselves at the planning commission meeting. It was, I think, it was well received, our plans, and they were very interested, so a good group of people, it seems. So, the city development study. On November 9th, the consultants showed this screenshot of a possible future city district. So this whole area, they're considering the city district, not just the small area of where the library is. You can see the library almost in the middle of it.
Is this the city district or civic?
It's
Now
the
ci-
whole area, this whole area is considered the city district. They were looking at the whole thing.
Okay. So they changed but they had been calling it civic district.
Wow.
They changed the name, okay.
It is, they didn't change the name of it, but
Okay.
Well, to Rich's point, originally in May, the idea was to have somebody look at the two parcels of property.
Yeah,
And then when Informed Studios came in, they said, well, that's, no, not what they wanted to do. They wanted to look at the larger,
no, I understood that. It was a change from civic district to city
City
district
district.
that I hadn't
Well,
heard before.
I guess I need to correct myself. It's still civic.
Okay, okay.
I'm saying city for the CIDI, and it's what, how they call it.
Oh, city, I got it.
Confusing, I know.
I was thinking of the CIDI, not an acronym.
So, I reported last month that the results of the second survey were very much influenced by library supporters. Overwhelmingly supportive of keeping the library on the land that was originally planned, and to keep it as a standalone library. In the results of the second survey, which the second survey had 3 different options of where things could go. We had, the first one was where we're at right now, and 2 other locations. Again, we had good support, and I think it was just logical that we stay where we were planning to build. So,
Do you know what the final number of survey respondents was?
49.
49.
It was at least an hour-long survey. And we did get some quality responses, but 49. So, yeah, a lot. And then, what I thought was interesting is and I sent this to you guys, I believe, they talked about the different phases of what they thought could go in. Here's the library.
so this is in year 1 to 5.
Right.
So the library and the township within the,
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
I'm saying that's. yeah.
Right here, this is the township building,
Mhm.
and this is the police fire. This is multi-use right here. And I think this is senior living apartments, and this is the corner lot of M59.
Where the fruit stand is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fruits and was.
Or more?
And then you have
Streets. Changes.
5 through 15, a couple of outlets over here. Building on the opposite side of Elizabeth Lake Road from where we are, and the corners behind. This is their parking lot. This is the neighborhood, their sanctuary's parking lot. So I think this is multi-use. Oh, medical office building. And these could be anything. This is just a suggestion of what could go in.
Is it the Kroger gas?
Yeah.
That's
Isn't
a
that-
square block.
Mm.
And the 2 to 5,
Right here.
that's their better.
Okay.
And then 15 to 25,
And then it goes, yeah.
I didn't see it on here.
these go away. Maybe we won't need gas, but.
You won't need gas, because you'll,
Yeah, electric kind of, couple more multi-use buildings, additional, I think it's senior,
senior living.
yeah, senior living, and then 25 years plus then, because I guess our homes or townhouses or apartments, it looks like single condos probably.
To what?
Residential of some sort, yes.
And it's housing in behind, next to the library, the yellow, that's
Yeah,
housing
this
right
is-
there.
So, just interesting. Again, they'll be issuing a formal report by the end of the month, I guess. And I'll be able to report on that.
Are they showing, pull-in parking along the Elizabeth Lake Road here?
Yeah, Elizabeth Lake Road went from a 60-foot right away on each side down to a 15-mile-an-hour on-street parking.
And,
Yeah, those-
but the majority
And all the
of,
parking.
majority of the parking is underground parking.
Wow.
Like Ann Arbor has some, I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, except for our lots, so we'll be full all the time. Yeah, it's interesting, really. So that's the city development study status of that. On November 9th, there was a community prayer breakfast, which anyone could have attended. Liz Smith and Marilyn Fessler were the primary organizers, as they did last year, but it turned out very nice at Independence Village. They have excellent food and nice breakfast for $8. And Jen and Rich were there, and Denise Harris Spain, and Jerry was there, and myself, and Jerry got an award for Outstanding Individual Award in the community.
That and Patty
Patty Leonard got one as well, yeah, thank you. And Mary Carr was honored with perhaps the longest longevity of township service of 26 years.
Awesome. 26 more to go.
I don't know about that. So, under the personnel, we had our annual staff in-service / training day. I gave a short state of the library and what's happening with the new building and the city project and a few other things. Amy gave a presentation on our new shared catalog system, which is going to be coming live in May. And I've mentioned it to you that it's going to be a big change for our staff, as well as, maybe not so much for our patrons, but staff will have a much easier interface, but it'll be a transition that we'll have to weather. We have the advantage of Amy being one of the primary, well, actually she was the head of the committee that selected the new catalog system through the library network, or TLN, our consortium that we share services with, to cut down on costs for delivery, book sharing, catalog. Why are you smiling? Oh. But then we did a little bit of work. We shelf read the whole library. Shelf reading is just making sure everything's in order. 20 people. It took us a little over an hour and 45 minutes to do it, which was phenomenal, I think. Had a minimal amount of things that were out of order. Out of order means, for us, the exception was if it wasn't on the same shelf, if it should have been somewhere else. We put it on a cart, made sure that it was something that wasn't missing, marked missing, or someone's looking for, and it was misshelved, and then that happened, and then we would discharge it, and the fines would go away, which that happened with a couple of them. And then they were ultimately reshelved in the right location, so I was pretty pleased with what we came up with to begin with. Then we had a pizza lunch at Highland House. That was very nice. They gave us a little area in the back and were very good to us. It was subsidized by the Friends of the Library, thank you. And then at the end of the day, we had a pre-holiday staff party. We did some team building with built gingerbread houses. Did a craft. We did Christmas ornament exchange, and then many people brought Christmas treats or holiday treats to share. It was a good day. Appreciate being able to do that, and allowing us to take the day. And I think the staff appreciates it too. So, library building, we had maintenance, elevator, and the HVAC. All maintenance was done, and then the fall cleanup has started outside. And then, as you can tell, and it kind of just blends in. We changed our walls. Do you like it, Glenn?
I noticed,
Did you? Well, I hated that green wall.
I noticed, no more avocado.
Yeah, no more.
Ever since we changed the tiles, the avocado just didn't make design sense.
So,
It blends nicely with the outside wall, it's a nice.
yeah.
reason.
Our interior decorator, designer actually was here for the meeting, and we were gonna go with blue. She said, no, you'll have too much blue. Do this color. We said, okay, and so we did, and so it's a way of showing that we should have a good result with our new building. She was very diplomatic about it.
So a test drive. I remember.
Test drive, yeah. That's it.
That's it?
Questions?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd just like to make Jerry Harrington, 2240 Wigan Lane, White Lake. I just wanted to compliment the staff here. I failed to do it at the breakfast, and I apologize for that. They came in, two couples came in, bought the paint, and painted this place on Sunday. That's what kind of staff we have here, the dedication of this staff. And I think it's phenomenal, and everyone on the staff from the top down should be congratulated. And we really appreciate them. They're hardworking, they give above and beyond what's required. And it's a shame that this whole thing has dragged on like this, so it's gonna cost us more money. That's it.
Good response. Good.
Can I interrupt? We're on an audio call, and have been for about an hour and a half.
And nobody joined, so
We
we
had said
said
we'd talk
after
15
15
minutes.
minutes.
It's a
so
long
I've been
distance.
looking at it and I'm thinking,
Yeah, if I may,
Please
check
do.
if there's anybody there. Is there anybody on the phone? Thank you for calling.
hello.
Hello? Nope. I think I
We approved the agenda with no new business. Anybody think of something in the hour since we started for new business? If not, we'll move on to old business. I think we've already concluded the status of the Civic Center Development Study. Oddly enough, Rich, the next thing is the ADA request for accommodation. So Denise, you want to present that? Or you want me to?
Well, as Rich pointed out, we did have the phone option, phone in. However, the person that requested the accommodation cannot easily do that. To be there right at the time that they need to listen at the meeting time. So they requested a audio tape to be sent to them. So I suggest that we change the motion from last month to do that instead.
So number one, it would be simpler,
Perhaps.
from that perspective, so.
What kind of equipment do you need to do this? Is the equipment necessary?
Yeah, I'll have to buy something.
There's some good field recorders. That,
Do you want me to look at it?
yeah, I'll look at
them?
those.
All right, thank
I'll
you.
look at those.
Rich is a musician in the house.
So the question would be, do we want to make this change for, so, because we are separate and autonomous, yet our good friends next door continue to send Merge Live. Who Merge Live will be with us next month. I'm trying to get to 25 bucks here. I get $5 every time I say Merge Live. So, we have the opportunity to leverage the fact that we're not paying Merge Live to be here, but they are accommodating, they're presenting this out to everybody. Do we want to change our policy or our practice from a dial-in for the December meeting? Or do we want Rich to have the ability to investigate and present a solution in December without implementing it? Or would you like to implement your recommended solution for the December meeting and try it?
Let's see what I would say, let's see what the cost is.
Right.
If I find that our best solution is, say, $50,000, there may be some dissenters.
I would say that's not a very good
No.
solution.
Yeah, but, it wouldn't be that much. It's facetious.
So you want to investigate and then present a solution in
Investigate,
December?
and if we can come up with a good solution that we can trial out, we'll make a judgment call about doing that trial.
That doesn't suit the needs of the person requesting the accommodation, so we don't really need to have it.
That is true, but at the same time, as a group, we made a motion, a decision,
Right,
and we
everything.
publicized that we would do it for 6 months, and then, or 5 months, and then revisit it.
Well, we visit it each month.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't think we said each month, but, okay, I can go back and look at your minutes. But we need to have a solution for next month, which is it?
Okay.
No, Ken, we do not want Merge Live.
Can't afford you.
But we can say Merge Live and get it. So,
I actually had another suggestion or a question. Do you know what the format is that she needs? Because that will determine what kind of recording device you'll need to get.
We'll talk to you about it when we're done.
Sure.
Great, thanks, appreciate that.
Well, I would, since the approach that we proposed was not a reasonable accommodation in the eyes of the requester, that we would make a motion now to not spend the cost of the dial-in, which is mostly a long-distance call, and, save that money, and if we can get something for December, then great. If not, be able to fall back that there's a third party that is providing an accessible recording
for December.
for December, and not do something that's not gonna be used.
Okay, so one motion is then required to discontinue the dial-in. Somebody missed it.
I'll make the motion. I'll second that.
All right, Karen and Rich?
Yes.
Just-
All right. So a second motion could be if a solution is for
Yeah, I made the motion.
A second motion could be if a solution to record the meeting is available for less than $100, to go ahead and implement it and then be ready for December, or just present your solution in December. Or don't make any motion at all and we'll just wait for the presentation.
That's what I would.
Yeah, I don't think
I'm with
there's-
that.
I don't think there's a need to.
Okay.
I would, yes.
All right, anything else on the ADA request for accommodation? So then we move on to the big picture. Okay. 2018 budget.
Denise, one more, please.
You talk to our accountants?
It's a budget, so it's not, doesn't have to be.
Okay. So changes are made or incorporated?
That,
Let's just do changes.
from last week?
Last time?
Yeah,
Sorry.
these are the changes based on our conversation in the last meeting about the budget, the proposed budget at that time. So Denise went back and made the changes based on that conversation.
Yeah, I'm just saying, which, without going line by line by line, which lines did you change?
Do you have that spreadsheet?
Okay, let's see. We increased the salary, we added a $5,000 stipend pool for, and then we adjusted the supplies based on actual experience. There's an adjustment down, let's see, the TLN services, we bumped up a little bit, higher based on experience. The TLN services.
It was
It's our
45,
shared.
it went up to 49.
Yeah, it went from 45,000 to 49.
That's our delivery and our shared catalog and our, all of that, and our expertise, all our, the computer connection, the fiber, they do lots of stuff for us. Helps everyone save money, so.
Sure. The repairs and maintenance, we bumped that up a little bit. That was 40,000, we bumped that up to 41.5. Collections and maintenance went down about $500. It's down to 8,500 now. It was 9,000 based on it. We did that based on experience. Other changes, I think those. Oh, the furniture and fixtures, we had some extra money that was not allocated anywhere, and we decided to put it in the furniture and fixtures, thinking it might be something that could come up next year. We might want to do or upgrade in anticipation of moving the library, because we have to stay here. And then we added $15,000 to the computer syncing fund.
I did add a couple lines at the bottom to show what our actual would be in our budget for next year if we had not had the library the land and the building expense. So we would be under budget by almost 300,000 with another month and a half of expenses. So we will definitely be under budget at the end of the year in that respect. Then for the proposed budget, again, it'll be a balance sheet type of transaction. So this is an income statement, the current year, and then the due from White Lake Township is basically a receivable from them, which is on the balance sheet, and then we'll hopefully get it from them back next year. I'm putting 900,000 as possible total expense by the end of the year. It might be a little bit more. And then we'll get it back during the year, so we'll have a net zero. It's really not part of the budget, I just added it for information.
Any questions, anyone on the board?
Anybody has any questions, I'll make a motion to approve the revised proposed 2018 budget.
One second.
So approved.
Thank you, thank you.
So with your
Yes.
average increase in stipend pool, comes with it the performance evaluations? Anything else?
You really want to do that to me in the next month?
Going once,
Maybe I'll make it retroactive actually.
twice? Any motions anyone like to make?
I made the motion. Yes, you could. And any other than accepting the proposed budget?
Yeah, like to adjourn.
You already,
That's it for the agenda, so
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
unless somebody got anything else.
you got a second it?
Dave second, Aaron,
Yes.
Rich, you wanna go home?
If you guys have any questions on those numbers, just ask me, call me, whatever.
So ends the meeting of the White Lake Library, not the township. Thanks, Bird.
8:21, you want it to be 8:21 PM?